Are you enjoying the game today, too?
That is the question of the hour. And honestly, looking at the title we are diving into today, if you aren't enjoying it, you probably just got hit in the face with a supersonic volleyball.
A supersonic volleyball that turned into a literal peanut. Today we are going deep, and I mean really deep, into the chaotic, beautiful, violent world of Nekketsu Dodgeball Boo. Or, you know, as most of us shouted at our TVs back in the day, Super Dodgeball.
It is an absolute classic. A title that took the politely structured sport of gym class dodgeball and turned it into a battle for survival. But we really have to address that name right away.
Oh, absolutely, we do. So the Japanese title, Nekketsu translates to hot-blooded high school. Hot-blooded, it just sounds so intense, right? Like, regular high school has homework and maybe a prom. Hot-blooded high school has rival gangs and dodgeballs moving at Mach speed.
It certainly sets a dramatic tone. It implies passion and grit and the delinquent culture of 80s Japan. But then you look at the North American release, and they just went with Super.
Super Dodgeball. It is so dry. Like, you ask, is it regular dodgeball? No, it is Super. It sounds like they were terrified of scaring the American kids. Hot-blooded implies sweat and tears and violence. Super just implies, I don't know, a guy in a cape.
I suspect lukewarm dodgeball wouldn't have tested very well with the focus groups. But to be fair, Super is pretty accurate in terms of gameplay. Because this isn't a sports simulation, it is a battle sport.
Exactly. I remember playing this as a kid, and it completely ruined my understanding of sports for years. In real life, if you hit someone in the face, the teacher blows the whistle, asks if they're okay, maybe you go to the nurse. In this game, you hit them in the face, they take damage, and if you hit them hard enough, they turn into a literal angel and fly up to heaven.
That death animation is iconic. It really emphasizes that this is a survival game masquerading as a sport. Every player has HP hit points just like you would see in a role-playing game. When that bar hits 0, they are eliminated. There are no referees stopping the violence. In fact, violence is the only metric of success here.
And while there was an arcade version that started this whole crazy franchise today, we are laser focused on the home console version, the Famicom and NES release, because that is the one that stole, I mean, hundreds of hours of my childhood.
The console version is arguably the definitive experience anyway, because it added depth that the arcade simply didn't have. It added stats, team management, and a campaign structure that felt like reading a shonen anime.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the structure of this game is what made it so endlessly addictive. You had the World Cup mode, which is basically the story in the versus mode, but then, oh man, then there was club activity.
Yes. In the West, this was often localized or referred to as beanball mode.
Beanball. This was the ultimate recess simulator. No teams, no outfield, just you and a bunch of guys in a schoolyard throwing a ball at each other until only one person is left standing.
And we really have to highlight a technical marvel here. This was one of the very few games on the system that supported 4-player simultaneous play if you happen to own the multi-tap adapter.
4 players. Do you have any idea how chaotic that was? It was absolute bedlam on the couch. You would have 4 people screaming. Alliances would form and break in like 3 seconds. You'd yell, "Don't hit me, hit him, he has the ball," then bam! Okay, now I'm hitting you.
It turned a standard sports game into a party game. It introduced politics into Dodgeball, essentially.
Yeah.
But while the multiplayer was legendary, the true heart of the hot-blooded experience is the single-player World Tour mode.
This is where the story kicks in. Enter Kunio, the absolute legend, the white uniform, the swagger. He is the captain of the hot-blooded high team. He's that classic tough guy with a heart of gold.
He is the quintessential Type A character. If you look at the game's code, he has the highest power and stamina balance. He is designed to be the anchor of your team.
Oh, massive nostalgia moment here. Whenever I played with friends in versus mode, we would literally physically fight over who got to play as Kunio. Because if you were Kunio, you felt invincible. You could take a ball to the chest and just shrug it off. Like, is that all you got?
Well, at least until you met his rival, Ricky from Hanazono High.
The classic frenemy. Ricky is so great. In the Japanese version's story, he's your first major hurdle. You have to beat your rival school before you can even think about taking on the world. It is such a classic setup. You beat him, you earn his respect, and then boom, you are on a plane to conquer the globe.
And that plane ride is where the game really differentiates itself from anything else at the time.
Yeah.
The World Tour introduces us to opposing teams that function less like generic enemies and more like distinct individual characters. This is something the console version executed brilliantly. Every team has a personality based entirely on their stats.
Oh, the stereotypes. They lean so hard into them, but in a gameplay way. It wasn't just visual, it actually felt different to play against them. Let's talk about England, or James's team.
Team England. Strategically, we would refer to them as the glass cannon.
They hit so hard.
They really do. Their shooting technique stat is incredibly high. If they get the ball and throw a nice shot, it is going to take a massive chunk of your health. But their physical defense is terrible.
They shatter like glass. You hit them once and they look like they are about to cry. It's hilarious. You are absolutely terrified of them when they have the ball, but the second you catch it, they turn into cowards. It created this frantic dynamic of kill them before they kill us.
Contrast that with India. Team India, led by Rajiv or Naman, depending on which version you were playing, they are the absolute wall of this game.
I hated playing against India. They just do not die. It brings back traumatic childhood memories, honestly.
Their stamina is actually quite low, but their defense stat is through the roof. And we have to mention the specific character, Mohammed, in that lineup.
That guy, I swear I would hit him with a ball moving at the speed of light, and he would take what? 2 damage?
Sometimes only 1 point of damage. The math under the hood makes him almost impervious to standard attacks. It forces the game into a grueling battle of attrition. You cannot just brute force Team India. You have to wear them down pixel by pixel.
It felt like chipping away at a concrete block with a plastic spoon. I remember throwing the controller down and yelling, "Why won't you turn into an angel already?"
And then you have Iceland, where the environment itself becomes the primary enemy.
The ice court. You try to stop and you slide. You try to dodge and you slide right into the ball. And there are penguins in the background.
Which is quite amusing because there are no penguins in Iceland. But the game didn't care about accurate geography, it cared about the feeling of the stage. The visual of sliding around uncontrollably made that match incredibly frantic. It completely changes the physics engine.
Then you go over to China and they are jumping all over the place.
High catch technique. They are very acrobatic. The AI uses jumping passes constantly to confuse the player's timing.
And finally, the USSR, the Soviet Union team. This match felt like a true boss battle.
It was explicitly designed as one, led by Mordofu or Boris in the West. The fascinating thing here is the AI behavior. It is programmed quite literally like a dictatorship.
A dictatorship. That is pretty deep for an 8-bit sports game.
It's right there in the code. The teammates act as meat shields. They will actively jump in to block shots meant for the captain, and offensively, they almost always pass the ball back to the captain. He's the only one allowed to shine on the court.
That is actually brilliant game design. You hate him so much because his minions are sacrificing themselves for him. It makes you want to target him specifically just to break them.
Exactly. And if you manage to eliminate the captain first, the team completely falls apart. Their coordination vanishes. They start playing poorly. It is a very subtle form of storytelling, communicated entirely through gameplay mechanics.
And we cannot forget Africa or Kenya in some localized versions, the mud court.
The swamp. It slows down your movement speed drastically. It completely messes with your internal timing for dashes and jumps.
Which brings me to the sound. Can we just appreciate the sound design for a second? Because in a game this chaotic visually, the audio was your anchor.
It is a very distinct soundscape.
There is nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, more satisfying than the sound of the ball connecting in this game. That crunchy S-smack, it sounds like a bag of wet cement hitting a brick wall. And then when a character is low on health, they make this incredible panting sound, like ha ha ha.
That panting is actually a critical gameplay indicator. It is the exhaustion mechanic.
Right. If their HP drops below 15, they start panting heavily.
And when they are in that state, they are highly vulnerable. If you hit them, they have a much longer recovery animation. It is the game visually and audibly telling you to finish them off.
It's brutal. You see a guy gasping for air, holding his knees, and the game encourages you to throw a ball point blank at his head. I love it. It taps into that primal competitive playground instinct.
Let's talk about the actual mechanics of throwing that ball.
Yeah.
Because Super Dodgeball isn't just about pressing A to shoot. It is entirely about rhythm.
No, it's all about the holy quartet. Dash, jump, pass, shoot.
The momentum is key here. You have your standard shot, which is relatively weak. You have a nice shot, which relies on timing a button press at the exact peak of a run or a jump. But then you have the killer shots.
Super shots.
Oh, boy.
This is where the game goes from a quirky sports title to a full-blown fantasy anime. Every single character has a unique one. And this is where the chaotic energy really shines.
They defy the laws of physics entirely.
Completely. Let's talk about the world tour shot.
The around-the-world effect.
You hit someone with a killer shot, like, say, the compressor, and they don't just fly back a few feet. They fly off the screen, wrap around the curvature of the Earth, and hit the back of the screen on the other side.
Sometimes multiple times, depending on the power.
It is the ultimate disrespect. You hit them so hard they become a low-orbit satellite for a few seconds. Hey, Mom, I can see my house from here.
It is absurd, but it adds so much to that hot-blooded feeling. It emphasizes the raw, ridiculous power of these high schoolers.
And speaking of power, we have to address the elephant in the room. The differences between the Japanese version and the version the rest of the world got, because it wasn't just the title that changed.
Ah, yes, the great localization swap. This is a genuinely fascinating piece of gaming history.
So in the original Japanese version, you are Kunio representing Japan, and you are fighting the world. The final boss of the game is the USA.
Correct. But in the North American release, Super Dodgeball, the roles are entirely reversed. You play as Team USA, led by Sam, and the final boss is the USSR.
Heavy Cold War vibes right there.
Very much so. It was the late 80s after all, so it made marketing sense. But they didn't just swap the flags around, they completely changed the sprites. In Japan, the characters are wearing traditional school uniforms, the gakuran, high collars, long dark coats. In the Western version, they put them in generic athletic t-shirts and shorts.
Which makes sense, I guess. Fighting in a high school uniform is a very specific Japanese delinquent trope. To an American kid in the 80s, that would have looked super confusing. Like, why are these guys playing dodgeball in tuxedos?
The music changed, too, during localization. In the Japanese version, Team England has a very specific background track.
Oh, I love this trivia. This is the kind of stuff that would get a studio sued into absolute oblivion today.
It is a direct melodic parody of the Beatles. It is a mix of Get Back and A Hard Day's Night.
That is amazing. They just mashed up the Fab Four and threw it into an 8-bit dodgeball game. No licensing, no permission, just pure punk rock energy.
It was certainly not something that survived the trip overseas. Copyright lawyers would have had an absolute field day with that track.
So we've got the crazy teams, we've got the mechanics, but let's evaluate this properly. Looking back, is the game actually good? Or is it just pure nostalgia talking?
I would argue it stands up remarkably well, specifically because of the differentiation we talked about earlier. In most sports games of that era, think ice hockey or soccer on the NES, the players were just identical sprites. Maybe one was fat and one was skinny.
Right, just generic guys. Player A and Player B.
In Super Dodgeball, every single character has a name. Every character has unique, hidden stats for power, agility, catching. It felt like managing a real roster. You knew exactly who your strong thrower was, and you knew who your weak link was.
And you knew exactly who to pass to in a panic. Get the ball to Kunio, or hide Hiroshi in the back, he's gonna die. It added this whole layer of strategy. It wasn't just twitch reflexes, it was active team management. You genuinely cared if your weak guy got targeted.
Plus, there is real depth to the gameplay. On the surface, it looks simple. But high-level play involves catch-canceling, precise positioning, and carefully managing that exhaustion meter we mentioned.
But let's be real here, the best part is the chaos. The absolute laugh-out-loud absurdity of those killer shots.
They are quite creatively designed.
There is the nut shot.
The nut shot.
Yes. The ball literally turns into the shape of a giant peanut.
I believe visually it's supposed to represent an elliptical distortion due to the sheer speed, but...
No, it is a peanut. I am throwing a peanut at your face at Mach 3. And then there's the compressor, where the ball shrinks down to the size of a golf ball. How do you even catch that?
It is very difficult because the collision hitbox shrinks significantly. And then, of course, there is the warp shot.
The cheap shot. The ball just straight up disappears.
It vanishes midair and reappears right in front of your character's face, giving you almost zero reaction time.
That shot caused so many arguments in my house growing up. You can't use the warp shot, it's cheating. And the response was always, it's in the game, deal with it.
However, we do have to acknowledge that the game wasn't perfect. There were severe technical limitations.
Oh boy, the flicker, the ghosts on the screen.
The hardware really struggled. When you have 6 sprites on one side, 6 on the other, plus a ball, plus a scrolling background, the console simply couldn't draw it all at once.
Characters would just ghost in and out of existence.
Yeah.
It honestly added to the difficulty. Where's the guy? He's flickering, I can't see him. It was like playing dodgeball in a haunted house.
And then there are the glitches. The never-ending match bug is quite legendary among fans.
Oh, I have had this happen to me. You hit an outfielder with a weird shot, like that nut shot we talked about, and they go flying.
They fly off-screen as intended for the animation. But sometimes the coordinate calculation fails. They just keep going.
They never come back. They're just gone. They're orbiting Mars.
And because the game requires all players to return to their baseline positions for the match to continue the game, just hangs.
You are just sitting there waiting, the music is playing happily, the crowd is cheering, but that one guy is just gone forever, and you have to physically crawl over to the console and hit reset.
A very tragic end to a heated match.
And you mentioned the India match earlier being a stalemate?
Yes, it is a notable balance issue.
Yeah.
Because India takes so little damage and their AI plays very defensively, matches against them can drag on for 20 minutes. It stops being fast-paced action and becomes a grueling test of patience.
A test of who gives up first. Fine, you win. I'm turning the console off.
And speaking of the console, here is a fun developer secret. How do you think they fit all these unique characters and animations onto such a tiny cartridge?
Magic. 8-bit dark wizardry.
Clever memory management. Technōs Japan saved memory by using the exact same body sprite for almost everyone.
Wait, really?
Yes. They just swap the heads. It is like a doll with interchangeable heads. That is why the uniforms look identical across the team, but the unique faces give all the personality.
That is so smart. And I heard they used real staff names for a lot of the characters, too.
They did. For example, Mitsuhiro on the Japan team is named after the game's director, Mitsuhiro Yoshida.
That is so cool. Putting yourself in the game just so you can get hit in the face with the dodgeball, that is real dedication to your craft.
It is a creator's privilege, I suppose.
So looking back, this game really started something massive, didn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It solidified the Kunio-kun sports spin-off formula. After this, we got Nintendo World Cup for Soccer Crash and the Boys Street Challenge hockey basketball.
The hockey game was amazing, too. But Super Dodgeball was the one that proved you could take these tough fighting game characters, put them in a sports setting, and it would work perfectly.
It prioritized fun and personality over realism.
Yeah.
That is the key takeaway. It didn't care about real physics. It cared about game feel.
And speaking of game feel, there is one last secret we have to tell you. The reset secret.
Ah, yes, a classic hardware-level Easter egg.
If you press the reset button on the console, maybe because you got hit with that never-ending match glitch we mentioned, you hear a voice.
It is Kunio's voice digitized.
He screams, "Nama na yo,"
which roughly translates to "don't mess with me" or "don't underestimate."
It is like the game is actively yelling at you for quitting. Don't you dare reset me. Scared the life out of me the first time I heard it. I thought my NES was possessed.
It showed that the developers had a wonderful sense of humor right down to the hardware interactions.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Super Dodgeball isn't just a retro sports game. It is a chaotic, glitchy, hot-blooded masterpiece. It's a game that ruins friendships, but in the absolute best way possible.
I completely agree. It is a masterpiece of the 8-bit era. It understood that multiplayer gaming is about reaction, emotion, and storytelling through mechanics. Even with the flickering sprites and the glitches, the core loop of catching a ball and throwing it back harder is just timeless.
It really is. It makes you feel powerful, makes you laugh, and it definitely makes you want to throw a controller.
Oh, hopefully not at your television screen.
No, at your friend on the couch. Just kidding. Maybe.
We should leave everyone with something to think about. We talked about the regional differences and the intense high school setting, but consider this. The game implies that high school dodgeball is a lethal combat sport involving international world travel. If this is just high school, what on earth does professional dodgeball look like in the Kunio-kun universe?
Oh, wow. Do they use literal cannonballs? Lasers. That is a terrifying thought to leave on. Yeah.
Indeed. A universe of perpetual high-speed impact.
Well, on that note, thanks for diving deep with us today.
It was a pleasure as always.
Will the game be fun tomorrow, too? Happy gaming?